Hello, hello, hello. It's whoops, props, Better Call Saul review. Though, yeah, last week's review got 70 views. Previous week's 1,000 views. This is why YouTube is broken. This is why I can't be bothered. Because what's the point? What's the point of doing any of this if whatever system YouTube is using, it doesn't deliver this to the people who may want to see it? 1 week, 1,000 views. Another week, 70 views. Yeah, so we're talking about Better Call Saul. There will be spoilers. If you're stupid, click away now. Because we're we're breaking down the episode. Just the title alone, Axe and Grind. That's not what it's usually got, an axe to grind. This is Axe and Grind. And it's a reference to 2 plot points. There's the grind, isn't there? You've heard of the grind, when you do something kind of monotonously to achieve your aim. One could say that Jimmy and Kim's takedown of Howard is the grind. And the axe could be a reference to something that happens in the German forests later in the episode. But I digress. It opens with a young Kim Wexler. It's the 1980s. We know because Duran Duran is on the radio later on in the scene. She's a Duranie. That's good. So it means Kim's roughly, well, same age as me, I'd imagine. Maybe a little bit older. No, she's probably about the same age as me. And she's been done for shoplifting. And her mum, turns up. She's stolen some jewellery. And her mum, does the routine of, she need to be punished, da 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 da. But it transpires that her mum, well, Kim takes a lot after her mum. She denies it. She's in denial. Because when they get outside, her mother laughs and says, "Hey, you got away with it." And then produces some jewellery that she's shoplifted. So we deduce from that Kim has learnt from the master, her own mother. Now, were they working as a team? Were they working independently? We don't know. But monkey see, monkey do. And this is why it's not a case of Kim breaking bad. Kim is breaking good. Because it's her nature to steal and pull off cons. She's the one who's natural. She's the natural thief, whereas Jimmy was accused of theft but never did it. He's always accused of being he's the moral one. You see her have done an old switcheroo on us. He's the moral one, she's the immoral one. And we see this played out latterly in the episode. He's cautious, she's gallivant. Then we have a delight. We jump forward to Howard making breakfast, or coffee, or tea, or whatever it was. He has tea. He makes a lovely cup of coffee for his missus and puts a C&D logo or a peace logo on it, so she's an old hippie. And he's taken all this time to be introduced to Cheryl, his missus. All this time, like I say, Better Call Saul is glacial in its reveals, and you can see an image of a relationship that is fractured. He's doing his best to please her. He's doing his best to be an attentive husband, but he is living obviously in a separate part of the house because she asked him if he's sleeping all right, and if how are you sleeping out there, and getting a new mattress to help him with his nighttime business. But yeah, this is a marriage that's fractured, and we don't know why, because he seems very conciliatory and she seems dead to him. And there's a social event to be attended, but he suggests they go together. She says, "No, I'll go." And he looks bereft at the end of it. He looks bereft. Now, I think they should have had him breaking down and crying. I think we should have seen Howard's vulnerability, but he does assure her, and he warns her that Jimmy and Kim are up to no good, and he's handling it. And indeed he is handling it, because he has a meeting with his private investigator, who shows a lot of pictures and reveals that, whilst there's nothing on the surface that's a little bit dubious, Jimmy picked up about 20 grand in cash. Why does he need 20 grand in cash? Indeed, why? Probably because he's visiting his favourite vet, Dr. Caldera, who injected him with something. I'm not sure what the drug was. Maybe it was just a caffeine shot, because he did say about it being equivalent to a couple of Red Bulls on an empty stomach. But this is where we're introduced to the idea of the little black book, and I think we see that little black book in the opening, in the very opening of this season, when they're clearing Saul's palace, and I'm sure it's in one of the boxes. I'd have to go back. I'm not going to do that. But it's this little black book that holds the keys to the kingdom. It's this little black book that has the vacuum repair company. We know that's a reference to something, isn't it? That's a reference. That's something. And Jimmy thinks this could be useful, especially as Dr. Caldera's. He doesn't want to be involved in the murkier side of life, and he wants to just dedicate his life to animals because that's what he is. He's a good person. He wants to quit, and Jimmy thinks that book would be useful. And I think we might be seeing that book again in the future. But whatever the injection was, it's made Jimmy's eyes dilate. Why? Why did we need Jimmy's eyes dilating? Who knows? But then it cuts to Jimmy's new office, which is being made out. It isn't quite complete yet, but they're getting there, and again all the clients are treating it rather, you can see how it gets shabby pretty quickly, because these people, they're not very respectful to the furniture. But Kim goes behind the scenes, and they're preparing a photo shoot with the lookalike from the guy who's handling the Sandpiper case. They're looking for the right moustache, of course, because Jimmy's going to fake some pictures. We don't know why, but they're heading towards their D-Day. It's the next day is the plan, and what is the plan? We're still not really. We know that there's a lookalike. We know there's pictures. We're not sure what the plan is, but there's a good jump cut between them sharing a moment and an axe hitting a log as we're transported to Germany, and one of Werner Ziegler's former excavation team is chopping wood. It's one of those, it's again, that's where the axe comes from in the title. Also, an axe that, it could also be symbolic of Kim and Jimmy being separated, being cut in two. They play very playful in imagery. Oh, and the director of this is Giancarlo Esposito, Gus Fring himself. It was a Gus Free episode, because he was behind the director's chair. I think it's the first episode he's directed, and it was a pretty tight episode. But he's chopping wood, and of course Lalo turns up, and he says, "Do I know you?" And a chase ensues, and there's a woodshed, there's a workshop, and there's the dark, and we think that the German fellow has got advantage of Lalo. He hits him in the stomach with the axe, and we think, oh, he's finished. But Lalo's always got something up his sleeve. In this case, it's a razor blade to the face, and then he chops the guy's. Well, it looks like he either chops his bottom of his leg off, or his foot, with the axe, and then gives him his belt. So look, you better do this before you bleed out, because we need to have a talk. And that's where that ends. We don't see any more of that. But what annoys me about some of this is some bits are extended and drawn out. But I want to see Lalo. I don't want to see him torture the guy, but I want to see him extract the information, because the next time we see Lalo, he could be in the, at the meth lab, at the laundry. That's how they could play this. And I think, again, in some parts of it, it's just so zippy zappy, and some bits are just, you know, that's where I sometimes the lack of consistency is a bit irritating. When we cut back to Jimmy and Francesca, he gets her to call into HHM because they're going to eavesdrop on a sandpiper meeting between them and the clients. Again, this is part of the plan. There's a lot going on in this plan. They get access to the meeting via, I think it's like a telephone conference call. There's a lot going on here, you know. A lot going on. Mike, we cut to Mike, and Mike is he's been called in where Tyrus, one of Gus's heavies, you know, says, well, you know, what are you doing, man? Why are you pulling off? You know, why is no one guarding your house? And they're guarding, you know, your daughter-in-law's house, etc. And Mike said, you know, it's the heavy moment. But we're showing, it's all to show Mike cares for his, you know, granddaughter and doesn't care about himself. Again, would Lalo turn up to Mike? I don't think, again, Mike knows, I think he knows Lalo's thought process better. I don't think he's going to go for Mike anyway. Lalo likes to hurt people, and so he knows that. And then we cut to a scene where Mike watches his granddaughter look at the stars. Look at the stars. Which is nice. It's a nice scene, isn't it? It's a nice scene. Then we have Jim and Kimmy going over their day. Well, what they call D-Day, and I've got all the post-it notes out, and it's like, you know, you're looking at the post. I was looking at the board trying to see if there was any clues. I should have paused it. But I was just trying. Yeah, I'll try and watch it like a normal person rather than an obsessive. This is where I get it from. But yeah, it's the very next day, which will be next week's mid-season finale, which they keep pushing. And then they're going to toast. They're going to toast tomorrow by having a picnic on Omaha Beach. Omaha Beach is a reference to like D-Day and yeah, they have a picnic outside the offices of HHM, watching the cleaner inside. It's night time, which is okay. They're scoping the place already. And then we cut to the next day, and they go their separate ways. And Jimmy stops off at we call it an off license in the UK, but I guess it'd be a wine store to pick up a bottle of his favourite tipple. Was it Zafiro Anillo, which is the tequila with the fancy stopper. Now, again, is he celebrating before they've pulled it off? You know, is it a little bit presumptuous? Because whilst he's waiting in the queue to pay for this very expensive bottle of tequila, he sees the fellow with the moustache, you know, because life is like that. When you don't want to bump into people, you bump into them. But yeah, the guy overseeing the sandpiper case is paying for something ahead of him, complete with the moustache. And of course Jimmy's like, oh God, you know, ducks behind, but then notices the guy's got his arm in a sling, which completely goes against the pictures they've taken, because he hasn't got his arm in a sling. There's a continuity error, as it were, and it's obviously those pictures are important. Again, we don't quite know what the plan is. So Jimmy is visibly upset by this, obviously. So he phones Kimmy and says, "Look, we got a bolt. We'll fight. We'll live to fight another day." And meanwhile, Kimmy's driving off to her meeting, and she's like, and you could tell she is the one. She is the driving force. She is the one pushing the buttons here. And she says, again, with steely determination, it happens today. And she U-turns off the motorway and heads back. And that could be her undoing. Again, Jimmy is the cautious one. He's the one who's like, hey, maybe we should wait. He's the one with the conscience here, I think. Again, I think he's very much into... Well, she's more instinctive, a little bit more, irresponsible. Again, that illustrates, well, because she gets caught. Again, it's foreshadowing. She gets caught by the I guess he was the store manager or the security guard at the beginning of the episode. So it shows you, Jimmy doesn't get caught, because he's cautious, whereas Kim is, isn't. She's clever, and you see that in the case that she's defending today. The guy with the air freshener in his car, the Albuquerque Isotopes air freshener, which is oversized enough, wasn't that in the? That was referenced in a Jeans scene, wasn't it? A similar one. It's always foreshadowing. Objects are very important, like the bottle stopper, that we see in the very first episode. Objects are very important in this. The toilet is dumped in the dumpster, and the guy takes a pee in his office. And if you had a toilet in the office, lots of visual cues and gags in this to keep you thinking. Anyway, so next week it's the season mid-season finale cliffhanger, and all the plan will be revealed, and it's going to be interesting to see. Will we find out? Will that end with Kim being led away in handcuffs? Is this the end of her, or do they separate? Does she go into hiding? Or maybe, it all goes wrong because they don't realise they're being tailed. All the time. They're all being tailed. So this could go a number of different ways next week. And I'm kind of gambling that after the mid-season break we're going to see the show either do a time jump or become even more like dovetailed into Breaking Bad. They might do the time jump, or it might be a more natural progression. It might happen a little bit more naturally, because we're in 2004 at this time, and so we've got maybe a couple of years, I think, for it to catch up with Walter White and Jesse turning up. So it could be a time we could be seeing. That would make sense, with the season break, for them to introduce maybe a time jump. Maybe Kim's in prison and he visits her behind bars. Remember, it's a love story. They're going to meet up at the end. I've been saying that from the beginning, god damn it. And I'm going to stick with it. Anyway, hopefully this gets more views than the 70 views that last week's one got. Thank you, YouTube. You really are an awful platform. And I don't know if there'll be anybody in the live chat, because I'm doing this live at the moment, because we'll see if that makes any difference to everything. Just pressing the buttons. Don't mind me. Padge is in. He says, "Hey, Darren." Hey. And we've only got 2 viewers in. Like I said, killing the channel video by video. Do you remember when Pegasus used to turn up all the time? It was him all along with the multiple accounts. My goodness. Who'd have thought it, eh? We found our villain. Anyway, thanks for watching. They'll get caught in the end. And thanks for watching. It's hopefully this has been useful. Remember, sometimes you need a criminal lawyer, so you better call Saul.